Hello folks, Triple T Cat here, recording, as per always, for the Zombie Arcade, and today I'm going to talk about my top 10 games of 2012, 2013. 2012 was last year, I made a different video at that time. Anyway, as you might imagine, my last sort of long video I did left kind of a bad taste in my mouth, so I wanted to make a video that was happier, where I talked about some games this year that I did enjoy, and while I stand by that this year was all things considered, kind of a crappy one for gaming. I do, believe that. There were definitely some things this year, first of all, some games this year that I did enjoy, and some games this year that were unexpectedly great. And to be honest, some of these ones on this top 10 list, until we get to like number 4, I guess, I didn't necessarily think were that amazing, but they were, in the top 10 I played this year. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. I want to give an honorable mention, so I guess there is slightly more ado, to Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, neither of which I wanted to include in the main list because they're just enhanced editions of games that came out a long time ago now. But two of the things that I had the most fun with this year, and it's really nice to have new sort of somewhat reworked versions of those games, although there are some things to recommend a version. Anyway, not worry about that. That's an honorable mention. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get into the list. There's not going to be any fancy editing or anything like that, because I'm having real problems with my editing software, and this is going to be kind of a quick and dirty video. Anyway, number 10 is this thing right here, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This was surprising to me. I thought this would probably suck real bad. Instead, we got what is actually a really fun character action game. I'm not really a big character action guy. Like, I'm not a fan of the DMC franchise. I think God of War is more like God of Bore, and always kind of was. But this was a lot of fun. It made you feel like a badass. It made a character that I previously hated, Raiden, somewhat more likable. It had some memorable boss fights. It had a really, really bad soundtrack, but like, the music in this game is fucking awful. Let's not beat around the bush about that. But it does sort of suit the game in a certain way, so I can understand the love it gets, even though the music is terrible. Anyway, I don't have much more to say about that one. I didn't, this game wouldn't be, like, in my top 20 of all time or anything, but it was pretty good. We're having an upbeat day today to make up for the last few. Okay, and these are in order, by the way, unlike some of my other top 5 things. These are ordered. That was 10th. Work on that, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Anyway, 9. Killer is Dead. Another character action game. As I said, I don't really like them very much, but there were a couple funny ones this year, and this one, you'll note, I'm rating above Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, because this one, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, is all like super serious and stuff. This game was fucking ridiculous. I think the best way of putting it, but like, it was real funny. The gameplay was still fun. It had some memorable areas, memorable bosses. I'd say it was definitely more creative than Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance in terms of art style and character design and stuff like that. I think this game doesn't get talked about enough. Actually, at least not in the West. I don't know. It might be more popular in Japan. I think Dude Bro, the Dude Bro who made this game, I think his games are normally more I know his name. This has some stuff in it that might make some people uncomfortable, because there's like the whole gender issue thing is a hot topic in gaming at the moment. That is not what this video is about. I'm just observing that it is a hot topic. I'm not making any other comment about that at that time. And with that in mind, this is probably not the best time to release a game with X-ray vision in Gigolo mode. It has a thing called Gigolo mode, where you basically give girls gifts, and then you have sex with them, and then they give you a sub-weapon. To me, the whole thing was just so over the top and ridiculous that I found it funny. I wasn't offended, but I think people might find that in particular a little bit offensive about this game. Aside from that, though, this has a really cool art direction, really badass enemies, a lot of fun to play, and just kind of funny. Killer is Dead was good. I don't know, I picked it up out of sheer curiosity, and my god, it was good. So surprisingly, we're coming to our first PC game now. I want to mention The Wolf Among Us, which is Telltale Games' new thing. They made the Walking Dead adventure game episodic thing that was so popular, and Walking Dead Season 2 is out now. I haven't bought that yet. I don't care that much, to be honest. The Wolf Among Us is better than The Walking Dead Season 1. That's probably, like, the first episode's the only thing that's out so far, but the setting's a lot more interesting. The story grabbed me in a way that The Walking Dead didn't. The second episode for Wolf Among Us is coming out soon, and I cannot wait. If you liked The Walking Dead, or if you've ever liked any of Telltale's other kind of adventure games, hell, even if you didn't, like, if you haven't played one of these games before, like, The Wolf Among Us is really, really good. The story really grabbed me. It's like a detective fiction thing set in Fabletown. I'm pretty sure it's based on a series of comic books, again. But basically, it's like a gritty noir based on fairy tale characters. It's really cool. I really like it. I don't have a box for that, because that one's on Steam. Much like the next game, BioShock Infinite, which I do not own a copy of. And I put BioShock Infinite on this list begrudgingly. I want to talk about this. You'll notice BioShock Infinite is not in my top 5. It was bad. Like, the game wasn't bad, or it wouldn't be in this list, don't get me wrong. The first half of the game really grabbed me, you know, when you're spending time exploring the environments and stuff like that. The environments are great. The characters are really good. The story, it's okay. I feel like they tried a little bit too hard in some ways. Like, I don't think this, and it's not so much that I feel like they tried too hard. I think people overblew how good the story and the ending is in BioShock Infinite. I won't talk about the story in this video. No spoilers here, of course. But I think that was overblown, and I think at the end of the day, the gameplay, by the time you were halfway, 3/4 of the way through the gameplay had become so fucking monotonous, and the thing, like, they'd killed most of the atmosphere. If you ask me what I loved about BioShock, it would be BioShock 1. Two things. The sort of spooky atmosphere, and, like, the good atmosphere, the strong atmosphere aspect, and two would be the cool gameplay that was reminded me of System Shock 2. It had a lot of cool things going on. It wasn't as hard as System Shock 2, but it was good. BioShock Infinite, they had a cool setting. They had some really, really nice environments, as I said. They populated it with boring enemies. The environments got less interesting as the game went on, I felt. Like, I don't mean I became adapted to them. I mean, I think the environments were more boring. There is one section towards the end of the game where I felt like things were changing up, and it was a pretty short section, and then everything was back to business as usual. I think this game is massively overhyped. Did I overall enjoy my time with the game? Yes, or it wouldn't be in this list. I just wish that the combat had not been so fucking dull. And I only put it on this list begrudgingly because I think it is unfair how well the BioShock Infinite was received, considering how bad the actual gameplay was. I mean, I could do a whole video talking about it, but anyway, that one's probably gonna get me a lot of hate for me complaining about it so much. But keep in mind, that is on my list. It's in the number... It's in the number 7 position on my list. Sorry if I seem a little bit out of it. It's 5:20 in the morning. I don't sleep much anymore. Anyway. Number 6. Dead Space 3. Which I'm ranking above BioShock Infinite. Dead Space 3 might seem like a weird thing to put on this list, because all in all, I would consider it in many, many respects, from a critical perspective, the weakest game in the Dead Space franchise. A franchise in which I loved Dead Space 1, thought Dead Space 2 was just a little... I didn't think it was bad. Dead Space 3, though, is like, it's Gears of War. They Gears of War, they're Gears of War, but, like, I played it so much Like, you play it co-op with a friend, and it has all these really fucking stupid moments. I think this is a case of a game being so bad it's good. There are elements of it that are genuinely well done, but the reason it's on this list is because of the things that were not good. Those are the things that made me love it. I can't explain this entry well. I'm sorry. You would have had to have seen what happened to my mind when I played it to understand. It's there, though. Deal with it. So, number 5 is this one. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Dragon's Dogma... I'm just making sure I didn't fuck this up. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma initially came out last year, I believe. Maybe even 2011. I think it was last year, though. But, well, not last year. 2012. These games all came out last year. I didn't play it at the time. I didn't pick it up until Dark Arisen. And, I don't know why I didn't play it at the time. I think it was because it was a little bit hard for me to get my hands on a copy. I had to order this one from overseas, actually. This game is really good. Like, it's one of the most hardcore RPGs to come out in recent memory. Particularly if you want to include, if you have the requirement that it has an open world, this is like, yeah, this is like pretty old school. It's got modern combat mechanics in that it has action RPG fighting mechanics, and the big deal about this thing, you might recall, was you could climb around big monsters. But anyway, it's got action RPG fighting mechanics, but a lot of the stuff about the gameplay, it screams sort of that old school charm, and there's a lot of things about this game that are broken as fuck, and I would not recommend this to not 9 out of 10. I would not recommend this to 7 out of 10 people or something, because it's kind of broken. It's kind of pretty hard. Like, I loved it though. Like, I really, really liked this game. This was something that I was really, really happy that something like this got made and got put out by a relatively big company. I liked this one. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen's good, guys. You should have bought this. Statistically speaking, you didn't buy it, but you should have fucking bought this. It's good. So number 4, Metro Last Light is going to be my number 4. I did the full Let's Play of Metro Last Light. You can find it on my channel. Metro Last Light is a rare game. Unlike BioShock Infinite, I feel that Metro Last Light belongs in the pedigree of great single-player shooters. It is not... I would not put it right there next to Half-Life and Half-Life 2, because it doesn't do as much for the genre, you know. It doesn't push the buttons in new ways or anything like that. But it's in the same league, I would say, as a game like Half-Life 2. It is a truly, truly excellent single-player shooter. I really believe that. It gets everything more... Like, there are some sections of the game that I don't like very much, but you have that in any game, and overwhelmingly, Metro Last Light gets so much more right than it got wrong, which is not something I could say about Metro 2033, really. That game had a lot of problems, although overall I liked it. It's definitely not something I would say about BioShock Infinite, which I felt like was overall a pleasurable experience, but got a lot wrong. Metro Last Light is overwhelmingly a really, really good single-player shooter. If you like single-player shooters, you should play Metro Last Light. It's damn good. There's not much else I can say about it other than that. I don't think there's much more that needs to be said, aside from the fact that it is also gorgeous. Like you, viewer. So, position 3, GTA 5. This is in my top 3. I bet you expected this to be in number 2 or number 1, perhaps. But, no, number 3. There are 2 games that I would put above GTA 5. But GTA 5 is actually still in my PS3 right now, apparently. I've observed that this is empty. GTA 5 is an excellent, excellent game. It is not my favorite in the series, unfortunately. But this game is dope as fuck. Like, if you probably played this, you probably own this, you probably don't need me to tell you how good this game is, but supposing you did, I'll just say that The writing is excellent. The voice acting is excellent. The story is good. It is fun to play. That's an important one people seem to forget about these days. I left games off my list that I think other people liked a lot this year because they weren't fun to play, which is something that I want from video games. As I said, my personal favorite in the franchise is San Andreas, and to me, it doesn't top it. But I think a lot of that's to do with nostalgia I have associated with San Andreas. I like this game more than GTA 4, and I am in the camp that I liked GTA 4 a lot. But this is better. This was good. You don't even need me to fucking tell you how good this was. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a Grand Theft Auto game, and it's a good one. Go fucking buy it if you didn't already buy it. What else do you need to know? Number 2. I don't have the title cards. The second position. The second best game for me this year. Or the game that I enjoyed the second most of all games I played this year was Tomb Raider. And I'm really, really happy to be able to rank this game so highly. This is a game that's appearing in a lot of top 10 lists and stuff, but it's normally kind of pushed down. Certainly not in the top 3, generally speaking, you would see from big reviewers and stuff like that. I think it almost, people kind of give it an honorable mention. Like, I feel like Tomb Raider did not get the praise it deserved. It was well received. I think it was fucking awesome. Like, it blew me away how good it was. You know, when I saw they were doing a gritty I hate gritty reboots. I'm sick to fucking death of gritty reboots. But they didn't overdo it on the darkness, you know? It's certainly a dark storyline, but they didn't overdo that aspect. It had a lot of moments that were really, really badass. They handled the character so well. So well. I have a really, really big problem with the way... We're talking about the gender issues again, aren't we? I have a really big problem with the way women are portrayed in gaming, generally speaking. And I normally don't like games where you play as a female protagonist, not because I have a problem with playing as a female, but because I feel like the character, they're just generally not well done. I think it's because almost all people writing video games are men, because that's the way the industry is currently. So a lot of times female characters in games... any game are not good, interesting characters. And like, I don't know, I always feel like I have to think of them as like I'm playing as the girl character, and the writers are always shoving in it's a girl. I just felt like Tomb Raider was a game about a person, which is the way I would like to think about games about women, because I think of women as people. I know that might be controversial to some, but so that was surprising. That's not why the game is here, but I was just really surprised by that. The reason the game is here is because the game was a lot of fun, it had a good story, and it had good voice acting, and also because I wanted to see this franchise make a comeback. I played Tomb Raider 1 and 2 and 3 when I was a kid, and they were janky as all fuck, but they had a certain charm to them, and there wasn't much else like them. And when Uncharted first came out, one of the first things I ever put up on my blog, and this is in text only, but you can see it over at thezombiearcade.net if you want to. I don't really maintain the site, so it's kind of fucked up, but you'll be able to find the review. It was a review of Uncharted 1, and I think I said in that review that it basically feels like a Tomb Raider with cover shooter and no puzzles. And I would just like Tomb Raider, please. I think I said something along those lines. And Tomb Raider, it takes the good things from Uncharted that Uncharted did better than Tomb Raider ever did, and incorporates those into a new Tomb Raider game. The platforming is better than Uncharted. The shooting is better than Uncharted. The story is, in my opinion, better than the stories in Uncharted. If not as feel-goody, but it's a story where there were more moments where it really had some kind of like emotional oomph for me, and I really, that was good. That was really good. So I was just really pleased to see the franchise that kind of, obviously to me, so heavily inspired and in many ways was responsible for Uncharted, taking back the reins, and I think it's better than any of the Uncharted games. I think Tomb Raider is really good. The only thing I would say is I would still like to see more real puzzles. Normally, what reviewers say is like, I wish there had been more raiding tombs. The tombs were like these side things you could do in the Tomb Raider that came out this last year. And they were basically like single room sort of puzzle platforming rooms. And yeah, I wish there had been a more emphasis on puzzles, which I guess is what is meant generally by when people say more raiding tombs, is that they wanted more of that in the game, more of that stuff where it's puzzle oriented and you have this feeling of like exploration and puzzle solving. And I hope that in the sequel, because there's gotta be a sequel, man. There's just gotta be. It was so damn good. I hope that in the sequel they will expand on that aspect of the game. But aside from that, I have nothing, and that's not even a complaint about the game. That's just something that I would like to see more of in the future. I have very, very little bad to pretty much nothing bad to say about Tomb Raider. It was really, really good. If you didn't play it because you thought it was a dumb, gritty reboot, or you didn't want to play as a girl, or like any reason that you didn't play it was dumb, you should play it. It was so good. There's cat hair in my water. I need to drink some water to build suspense before I tell you what number 1 was. Although you can probably guess because I haven't mentioned it yet. Damn, that's good water. And good suspense building. Alright. Number 1. The Last of Us. Which I didn't take the big dumb sticker off of from where I bought the game. I probably should have done that. It kind of ruins how pretty the front of the box looks. This game was fucking amazing. I'm done. Video over. No, but seriously, this was incredible. And I think people, when they talk about this game, miss an important part of why this game was incredible. Everyone always rattles on about the story. And the story is good. And the acting is good. And the characters are good. The story is very good. And I can understand why people get hung up on it. Because this is one of the few stories in games where I think it will stick with me. And the ending was something I didn't expect. And that was so pitch perfect, so absolutely perfect. Like if you haven't played this and you're like you think you can guess the ending based on the type of game it is and what you know about it, you can't. Like a friend of mine, Fidel Man, he's a smart guy and he notices, you know, the friends and nerves and stuff. He guesses the ending to pretty much fucking everything. I mean, some of the stuff he guesses is uncanny. He didn't get this one right. He hasn't played it yet. I just told him, like, man, the ending was actually really good, and he, like, made a bunch of guesses about it. It's like, no, man, you actually, no. Nah, man. But the ending's not the whole story. Like, the whole story is the whole story, and the whole story is really, really good. Thematically, really deep. Like, this is a game that the storyline will stick with me for a long time. But that's not all. And I think what gets... The story in the world and the characters are amazing, but I think what gets left out of the review and what's really impressive is that the gameplay in this is fucking great. The stealth really works. The stealth mechanics are really, really well done. The combat feels tenser than almost any other game. Like, they just absolutely nailed the gameplay, and that's something that I don't expect from a game with a good story anymore, which is kind of a sad thing to admit, but it's true. It seems like most games that come out lately, if they have, like, a really sort of amazing, hard-hitting story, gameplay is kind of crappy. It keeps happening. You might not agree, or you might not have noticed this, but to me, that is something that I keep seeing. It keeps happening. So when an exception comes along with this, and this was a case where it was all gritty and dark, and I expected this to be a depression simulator, and it would be like a good story, but have really fucking bad gameplay. It was such a wonderful surprise that this game was so much fun to play. It's a good length. 2. I thought it'd be really short for some reason, but it wasn't. So, like, aside from the story being great, they nailed the gameplay. It was a lot harder than a lot of other games that come out these days. The gameplay was, in some senses, more cerebral. Like, this is easily the best survival horror game to come out in many, 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 many years. I think the survival horror genre has been really fucking bad for quite a while. I wouldn't consider Dead Space 3 a survival horror game, by the way. I would consider it completely and totally to be an action game. There is no semblance of even an attempt at horror for 90% of the game. This game has the resource management thing. It doesn't really have puzzles, but it has the whole resource management thing, the exploration kind of stuff. Like, it has minor puzzles. What this nails is just the feeling of tension expressed through gameplay mechanics rather than just through the story and environments. That's a problem that I have with horror games like Amnesia. I don't have a problem with Amnesia. That's not a fair example. But a problem that I have with a lot of games is that I feel like they could have been done just as well as movies. Whatever it is that they express, they don't use the fact that they're a game well enough. This gets you, and it pushes it through the gameplay mechanics. It's got a really, really good story, and the gameplay is fucking great. If you looked at this and went, this is probably some overhyped piece of garbage, where the gameplay is probably going to not be that great, and the story is probably going to be way overhyped or something, you're thinking of BioShock Infinite. I say that completely unironically. This was the real deal. I would recommend this to absolutely anybody. This game is this is great. This is the shit right here. So, it's not all bad. If you watched my last video, a 40-minute rant about how much video games suck. But I wanted to make this video to make myself feel better and remind myself of some of the great stuff that came out this year, and I do feel a little bit better. I really do feel a little bit better having made this. And particularly stuff that came out near the beginning of the year, like Tomb Raider, for example. It's easy to forget. Tomb Raider gave me some really, really good times. Metro Last Light, I had some really good times. Metal Gear Rising, Core's Dead was more recent, but those were good. Those were really good. And this didn't come out at the beginning of the year, but this was so good. Between my top 3, between GTA 5, Tomb Raider, The Last of Us, and even taking in Metro Last Light at number 4 there. This year, it's not 1998. But this was a good year for gaming. In 2012, I didn't make one of these videos, I don't think. I think I made a video called 2012, the year in gaming that sucked. Because 2012, there wasn't much that came out that impressed me. And this year, it was easy for me to sort of, have this negative attitude, because I do think there's a lot of crap coming out, and I think a lot of stuff gets overhyped, and I think there were a lot of games that I expected more from that were big disappointments, like Aliens Colonial Marines and Rome 2 Total War, for 2 examples. Games that I thought would be really cool and were not good at all. Well, Rome 2 is good, but it was a disappointment for me. That's a topic for a different video. This video is a happy video. I feel a lot better now. There were some good games this year. These were some of them. This one was fucking dope, and this one was fucking dope. And Tomb Raider and Metro Last Light, they were really, really good. The other 6 were all good games, but those ones would not... None of those would probably make my top 20 games of all time or anything like that, but... the top 4 games for me this year that I have mentioned, those are all really good games, and I'm really, really glad they came out. So there is still some thing to be happy about. Some guy commented on the last video saying, I think gaming has never been better. I think maybe you're playing the wrong games, and I disagree. But I do think that there is a hope. I think that 2014, my prediction is that 2014 will be a good year. A better year than 2013 was. 2013 had some very good titles, but overall, I feel it continued in the vein of previous recent years where things were a bit sad. I have high hopes for 2014. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. These have been my top 10 games of 2013. Until next time, Trouble T Cat out.